Hey, welcome back to the Jumpsuit Gems podcast. I'm Alex.
I'm Katie. And I'm Liz.
In this week's episode, we're going to discuss our journey into becoming huge Elvis fans and kind of what it all entails.
Yeah, I guess we could start out first. I guess the day that changed our lives would be going to the Elvis movie. So do we want to talk a little bit about that timeline?
Yeah, so kind of setting the scene. In December of 2021, our father died. We all have very different relationships or had different relationships. Why don't we kind of touch in on that? Katie, you can start because you had probably the best relationship with your dad.
So yeah, I probably had the best. I think I talked to him all the way up until he died. So, and I think with Elvis and Lisa Marie, I think I resonate a little bit more with that because I was always a daddy's girl. And my dad always, I think, not favored me, but it was kind of like Elvis and Lisa Marie, I think, a little bit of the aspect. So it was difficult. And so I think when I do think of Lisa and I do think of Elvis, I do kind of think it reminds me of me and my dad and our relationship. So I think seeing that in the movie was nice and was good. But that's kind of my relationship. Yeah, I'm glad that she had the relationship she did with our dad, because, so she, if you watch the last one, or if you know us, she's our little sister, and then Alex and I are twins, so we just had a different story growing up with our dad and how we were treated and kind of the things we saw that maybe you didn't see or she didn't pick up on.
Yeah, Liz and I, and just to kind of put it out there, it's a little bit of a trigger warning. Liz and I had a lot more abuse from our father, physical, emotional. We were at the brunt of it, I feel like. And so we got to deal with like the drug addict, alcoholic side of my dad, or our dad, where when Katie kind of came along, it was like 4 years later and she was young. So she didn't get to see that side. So just to kind of preface, Liz and I really grew up with that alcoholic, drug addict father.
Which I also did too, a little bit, but I think...
Yeah, we're not discrediting it.
No, but I think
Katie's
was way
relationship
worse.
was just different because when you're so young, you don't see it. Like, you don't understand what addict behaviors are.
I think now I do, but back then there was, just little things that I would be like, oh, that's him, but then now it's like, okay, well, like, that's not normal, but... I've gotten to share this story before, but I'm glad we can talk about it a little more here. I decided to stop talking to my dad, and I think I was going into the 8th grade. I'd been through too much, and I kind of lost that connection with him because, like they were saying, he was an alcoholic. Like, that's all I remember my dad as. Pretty hardcore alcoholic, abusive, mentally, physically, and I just decided that I didn't want to talk to him anymore. So I remember it was like Thanksgiving, and I remember he called me, and it clicked. I didn't want to talk to him anymore. So fast forward through the years, I didn't hear his voice at all. Like, I would not, like, call and talk to him. He would send us birthday cards. I couldn't even touch them for the longest time. Like, if he lived in a different town than we did. And so when you and Mom or even Alex would go visit him, if he sat in the car, I'd have a hard time sitting in the same seat or car because he was in it. It was just really traumatic for me. And so I had a lot of hatred, for sure. I was a very hateful person for a long time. And I kind of used that as my excuse for a lot of things. And so leading up to his death, I thought, for sure, when I found out that he passed, or one day if he ever would die. I mean, he died so unexpectedly that it was a shock. It's not like we all knew he was going to die. And the weird thing is, it's really close to how Elvis died. Like his heart just...
They found him almost like they found Elvis.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a sudden cardiac event kind of deal, at least what the sheriff explained to us, and said it was so sudden and they found him on the ground. And I mean, the type of event he went through, yeah, it was really quick, and it wasn't known. Like our dad wasn't the healthiest person, and he had issues, so it wasn't like he was this fit guy. And I think drug use honestly caught up with him, especially when you're not taking care of yourself. But yeah, it was sudden. I mean, we didn't expect to get a call that day that he had passed.
No, and leading up to it, I thought that, I know this sounds really horrible, but I thought when I ever got the call that he died or whatever, I thought it would be a big relief, and that, not that I would be happy, I wouldn't care, and I obviously was a wreck. And it was very confusing on how to move forward and how I was feeling, because not only did he just pass away and we had to deal with that, we had to get in a car and drive to where he was living and, clean out his apartment that he was staying in like a day, and then go view his body. And for me, I hadn't seen him since I was in like 7th grade. I hadn't heard his voice. I had no idea what he looked like because I just refused to see that. So having to go see him just laying there was really hard. And so I think that was just a really hard time for me. And then I guess, Alex, if you want to share your story before we talk about the day that it changed us.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm kind of right there with Liz. Maybe not the hate part. I grew up with him, and I never felt like I was good enough for him, so I never had this relationship. I tried doing things he liked. Basically, I just couldn't live up to his expectations of what a perfect kid looked like. And so I just gave up, honestly. We were about going into 8th grade, and I saw Liz kind of being like, I'm never talking to him again. And, Liz and I were really close growing up. And so I'm like, hey, I'll never talk to him again. They're a huge regret because, I mean, it was apparent. And so once in a while, it'd be like, wait, like, I guess I will talk to him. And I saw windows of him. And at that point in time, he was starting to get clean, so he wasn't using anymore. And so I was kind of being like, wait, so kind of what is drug abuse? What is alcohol abuse? Because we grew up with it, and when you're little, you don't understand. And so just getting older and getting into high school and just learning more about things, I got really sad. Like, it was really hard on me to start being like, oh, wait, why do people use these substances? Like, what are they hiding from? What are they trying to mask? And so trying to understand, he had gone through stuff that made him use that. And then, again, he was using that instead of choosing better, because he did have a family. He did have kids. And it almost was like he didn't care about his health or about his relationships. He still was going to use because you couldn't tell him anything different. And so throughout the years, maybe like once a year or once every other year, I would talk to him, and it was brief. Like, I remember throughout the years, I think I heard his voice probably like 3 times in a 4-year span. I think I only really visited him twice in a span of 6 years. And I think we just turned 21, Liz and I got that birthday card for him. And that was such a big birthday year for us because, I mean, when you grow up with the alcoholic father, you just have this kind of mask of like, am I going to be an alcoholic? Like, am I going to go to substance abuse? And, as we were becoming these adults, I realized, wait, no, like, I'm not. Like, I was a huge advocate for mental health, and I always reached out when I needed it, and I didn't have to go to substance abuse, thank God. And so when I turned 21, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start to learn who he is as a human being. Like, I want to know who he is, not who this alcoholic is or who this masked guy is. And so I actually wrote him a letter because I physically couldn't have a conversation without just crying and, losing control of all my emotions. And he never got to see the letter, but because he had passed so sudden. I think he passed away like 3 days after our birthday.
Mm-hmm. No, it was like 2 or something. It was really close.
It was really close. And so he never got the card because I wrote it on my birthday. I remember I mailed it at work, and I have the card now. I carry it every day. It's always in my wallet. But I think that was the first sign of me realizing life is so short and not to hold grudges. And it's made me really be more eye-opening to, like, alcoholics and drug addicts. Like, there's a reason. Like, people don't just use to use mostly. And so it just really opened my eyes. I don't know what it was going to take me to, but that was kind of the first instance where I realized it was bigger than just the trauma of it all.
Yeah, so that was December that we had to do all of that.
Yeah, December 2021.
And then I think we spent the rest of that year. It was just a dark year for all of us.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me, I didn't know how I was going to get out of it, because honestly, I thought it was going to be something easy that I'd one day have to deal with, like not this hard. And so summer rolls around, or even before summer, I remember the trailer for the new Elvis movie dropped, and all, we thought about was our grandma. Grandma, we got to take you to this movie. Like, doesn't this look so good? And she was excited. And I can't say that I was super excited. I was like, I just thought this would be cool to take grandma to. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, Elvis, right? Because at that time we were not fans like we are now. So I was like, this looks cool.
I mean, it was intriguing because we do like biopics. Like, I remember my favorite movie growing up was Walk the Line, because it was all about Johnny Cash.
We watched it so much, especially Alex and I when we were.
So I mean, it piqued our interest, being like, "Oh, that's so cool!
This will be a fun movie."
Who Elvis Presley is, and kind of go from there.
Because honestly, we didn't know much. We're like, you know what? I guess let's just go check this out. So our grandma couldn't come up, so the three of us went. I think you were just in town. I mean, you didn't live with us at that point, did you?
She had just moved up.
Yeah, I think I just moved up. So, like, because we came out in June, and I moved up in July. So I think that was, like, our first thing that kind of set off me living with them.
Yeah, we were trying to also make it fun. Like, she was new to town, so we're like, we'll show you, like, because we're from a very small town, and the town we live in now, there's so much more to do. So we're like, yeah, we can go to the movie theaters, and
Yeah, because where we used to live, the movie theater is so tiny, so I think it was like, oh my gosh, the movie theater. I'm like, wow, like, you get popcorn, and like, well, you get popcorn everywhere, but I was like, this is just such a different experience.
Yeah.
And I think coming from, because it was hard. I struggled after in high school because it was my senior year, and I almost didn't graduate, but I did. With all A's and B's, thank you. But I think coming from that environment and then going, and living with my sisters and kind of all healing as the three of us, I think the movie that we went to, I think it just kind of set off everything.
Yeah, so we go to this movie, and unfortunately our grandma couldn't come up. She just never felt good, which probably was what started. She had cancer, and she died recently from it, and it just all happened so fast, but none of us knew that she had it. She had pancreatic cancer, and so it took her really fast. But now looking back at it, it's probably why, she had another heart attack. She had many heart attacks.
She had a lot of health conditions.
So she was struggling. So, we were like, let's just go do this. We could call grandma after. So let's, I guess, tell the story of us watching the Elvis movie.
So at first, Austin Butler is a good actor. I don't personally, I've never thought he's like a heartthrob or anything. You guys really like him. But the movie was great. Like, it started out like, oh, like, this is so interesting. And honestly, to this day, I think he did such a good job having, like, I don't even know. Because, he doesn't really look like Elvis, but, like, he, in the movie, you're like, that's Elvis. Like, he just, the energy, and I guess he did, like, a lot of studying. And so he portrayed Elvis very well. At first, it was like, wow, like, this is so good, like, piquing our interest. And
then, especially at the beginning, when he's singing and you see those girls stand up and start screaming, I almost did that.
Yeah. It was weird because it was like we were in the movie. Like,
I know. I was like, whoa. This is coming through my body. I don't know what's happening.
And, like, I feel like the way we heard his songs in that movie, I've never heard him like that before. Like,
no.
I know that it was, not quite his live music, but, like, I've never heard his songs sound like that. Which, they do sound similar, but, like, I just never listened to it in that mindset, I guess.
Well, and it happened to us in stages. So, like, early 50s. We felt like the fangirls in the early 50s. Wow, wow, wow. Like, he's making us feel some type of way. And then, you know, in the 60s, late 60s, you know, he's starting to mature and like he's done with all his movies and he does the comeback special, which that is crazy because I didn't know any of that about Elvis. Like, we weren't huge fans. We knew him a little bit in some movies because our grandma was in love with Elvis. But learning more and more, it was this buildup. And, of course, by then, Austin just morphed into Elvis. Yeah. You were literally watching Elvis. And so I think there was a certain point towards the end of the movie.
I think once we started seeing how Elvis was struggling of keeping up with everything and trying to please everyone and trying to make everyone happy, and you could tell he was not happy, you could kind of start realizing, wait, like there's a reason behind his behavior. And I think that was kind of like we're starting to be like, I think we looked at each other and like we all were just, we never said anything. Mm-hmm. We just were kind of like, I don't know, it was just such a weird like feeling.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't want to ruin the surprise, but I was starting to really think of like my dad. Like I was like seeing it and I was like, wait, like, okay, like I can see where like these struggles and like, you know, these expectations, and then you see him kind of misusing, I don't know, you could just see him kind of high, I guess. Like I don't know how to explain it, but you could just start seeing, they kind of dived in a little bit about all of his substance abuse kind of deal. And so I was definitely thinking of my dad.
I mean, yeah, I could say it now, but, like, it's not a big surprise, but we didn't tell each other we were feeling that way. I was thinking, like, wow, this is really reminding me of my dad. And especially towards the end, I know we've all seen it. I mean, maybe some of you haven't, but go watch it. It's a great movie. But the build-up is so great because you really see who he was as a human being. And at the end, you know, it shows actually him. So it goes up to this big build-up, and then it's actually Elvis in concert, and then you get to see
the
clips.
last concert performance.
Yeah, which just gives us chills. But it actually shows you clips of him and pictures of him, and it's like the fall of Elvis is probably the saddest story.
Yeah.
Because we relate to that. We've seen that. You know, we grew up with someone like Elvis. We grew up with, like I said, it almost feels comfortable at the same time, but, you know, we get it. And so for me, leaving there, I mean, I remember we all left and we were trying not to cry. I remember that. We just couldn't even look at each other.
Like when your jaw hurts because you're trying to hold it in, and like our eyes are like so red.
Yeah, we're just like, we gotta get to the car. So walk to the car in silence, get in there. I still can't remember who said it.
You said it.
Was it me?
So we were crying, and when we cry, we don't always talk to each other. We kind of sit there, silence, crying. And then all of a sudden, Liz was kind of like, come on.
I just said, are you guys thinking whom I'm thinking of?
And I think we started bawling.
We started bawling.
And then Liz couldn't even say it, but she's like, it makes me think about Joe, which is our dad.
Which at that time, I had a hard time. I can say dad now, but I had to call him by his real name because it was weird for me.
We're getting better,
but for me, I mean, you guys can go into it with how you were feeling, but for me, I can tell you 100% at the end of that movie, before it was even over, I was like, wow. Well, first of all, I'm an Elvis fan. This begins today. But at the same time, I was like, if I can sit here and I'm obsessed with Elvis now. I want to know more. I want to watch movies. I want to watch documentaries. I want to know everything about him. But at the same time, what kind of person does that make me if I could be so interested in someone like Elvis who was not perfect, who hurt a lot of people, who had, you know, this addiction to something we're very familiar with. And I cannot judge Elvis. There's something in me that has so much love in Elvis, and I just can't judge him for that. But I could do that with my own dad, and that's the first time I ever saw my dad as a human being since I was a very little kid. And that was really emotional for me because I felt bad. I was hit with guilt, a lot of it. And I've really healed since then. I don't feel any guilt, but all the anger went away. And that's because of Elvis. and his story, and it motivated me to really think about, not only do I want to get to know Elvis more and his story and literally know everything I can, I was able after that movie to start looking at pictures of my dad. I wanted to know what he was like growing up. I wanted to know everything about him. And I don't know, it was just, for me, it was really sad because I felt like a horrible person. But I know that comes with, like, your journey of healing and all that stuff. But it did make me feel really sad because, with Elvis, everyone around him, even though he was, hurting people, he chose his addiction over a lot of things. He had a whole family around him. I can't imagine if every single person in his life secluded him to somewhere where he didn't know anyone. He had to start over. He didn't have his family. I was pretty mean to him just because I was hurting and I didn't want to talk to him. And all he had was AA and, our dad. We're talking about our dad. He had AA and the friends he had there. So I was hit with, wow, at least he had people, but how sad would that be if it was me and my family turned, not against me, but, my actions led for me to be alone, and I fed into that and didn't want anything to do with him. But Elvis has really shown me the power of forgiveness. I've been able to forgive and move on in a way, but I have Elvis as that crutcher to guide me through it. And I would have never guessed in a million years that Elvis would be the one to show me that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's pretty much kind of how I feel. Elvis really opened my eyes to seeing someone who, and I'm not trying to disrespect Elvis, but he did very bad things. He wasn't he was human. He was not perfect. And, the movie was the start of seeing that, and seeing the things he was doing, and the hurt he was, hurting people. But I still had this huge, love for him. And, you still saw these people have so much love for him. And so it really opened to my eyes and, realized what humans are. And, humans make mistakes. And, it helped me start realizing more with my dad, it's okay that, you didn't love him every single moment of the day. It's okay that he did horrible things. It's okay that you still did love him. And then it just kind of helped me, transfer that into my life, being he made so many mistakes, but he still was worthy of love. And, from his fans and his family and his close friend group. And so I think that's also been helping me in my own life kind of realize, yeah, I messed up and I can't explain a lot of things, but doesn't mean I'm not worthy. And so it really helped me get through those darkest moments. And I think, to today, the last couple of years, it's just learning more about him and learning more things about the close people around him. It just adds something new every time you learn something, and has really helped me, heal a lot of trauma, and move forward on my healing journey. So.
Yeah, I think both of them make really good points, and I think my relationship's a little bit different. And so I think when I watched the movie, it did remind me of, my dad, and I think, the aspect of it kind of brought me back, like I said, kind of to, I was a little girl, and I kind of saw my dad in that light as kind of like Elvis, and it's hard because, like Liz said, how can I sit here and want to be obsessed with this, stranger, basically, but not your own dad? And I didn't see him, I think, for 2 or 3 years because it was COVID time and he didn't want to risk getting sick because he had health problems. And I told myself, and I told them, I was like, well, the next time that I go up, I want to ask him all these questions because I didn't really know a lot about my dad, our dad, we didn't know a lot. And so I kind of wanted to ask him and see how he was. And it was also kind of a point that kind of hit home was, we found, this journal, and it kind of was just his life story and my dad's and or our dad, and it kind of just showed him in a light where he really wanted to fit in, and he really struggled with that. And it's kind of like Elvis, he always wanted to fit in, and towards my dad, our dad's life, he started, watching the movies he liked that he never watched before. And I think he started to finally find himself. And just because, he wanted to fit in, but I think he was like, okay, well, I want to find myself, because he was clean and he wanted to, live a better life. And so it kind of just like, wow, Elvis always wanted to fit in. And there's just a lot of, I think, similarities there. And so, like, when we did walk out, I think before Liz even had to say, like, she didn't have to say a name. When she said, are you guys thinking who I'm thinking of? We all knew instantly. I think we all knew when we looked at each other in the movie theater. We didn't even say a word, didn't even say anything about him. And when, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of crazy to all of us to think about the same person.
Yeah, but, I mean, that is the power of Elvis. How cool. Also, like, it could have hit us. Like, maybe the movie didn't really hit us that hard, but it hit us, all three of us, at the same time.
And that was just the first time we went to it in theaters.
We went a couple
the
times.
second time, I think we went like 3 times total, but the second time we went through, again, it was just the three of us. And, you watch up until right at the end where he really starts to struggle and you can see his health deteriorating. And then, I mean, we still all bawled. We saw it for a second time, and so you see like a different version, because you know what to look for, but then you still pick out some things that you didn't notice the first time. And I think it was almost an excuse for us to grieve. Like, I don't want to say our family wasn't supportive, but since we all had very odd relationships with our dad and like lack of relationships with our dad, I mean, I'm so grateful that we could go and watch this movie. And it wasn't like our well-kept secret, but it was like kind of like our secret. And at least for me, it was something where I can go there and like cry because like his death was so sad. And I think that's what I really compare to my dad's death, is his death was so sad. But since I didn't have this relationship with him, you're not allowed to cry. And so I honestly feel like that movie was kind of our free card to be like, oh my God, like, this is so relatable to us. And it was something that we could go and watch and get different views on it. And it was something that we didn't even know we were bonding over it. But like, as soon as the movie comes on, it was something that we could all bond over.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like when people ask, like, now it's easier for us to tell people, but at first, I mean, everyone around the world was becoming Elvis fans and stuff, but where we lived and stuff, I feel like we got asked a lot, like, why Elvis? Like, why are you guys obsessed with him? Like, why? And it's still hard because it's such a long answer for us because it has to do with something so personal.
And definitely at first, like, I didn't explain it to, like, anyone. Like, I remember it being like, no, like, this is just such a good movie. But when they would ask, like, well, why do you like it so much? I was almost not, like, scared, but almost being like, oh, it's just, like, a really good movie. Like, and until, like, we watched it, like, multiple times and then started getting, like, our really close family to watch it, I think it took a while to be, like, admitting, like, this is how we, like, it just reminds us so much of our dad. Which I think it, to some people, when I say that, they think it's so weird because it's like, well, your dad's not Elvis Presley. I'm like, yeah, I know he's not. But
Yeah. Of course he's not.
But Elvis Presley as a human, you see that, like, he was just this broken boy. Like, Elvis had a hard life. I mean, towards the end there, sure, he got everything he wanted and, it was luxury. But, I mean, his true life and every step through his life, I mean, he struggled. It wasn't like he had this wonderful, no worries, no trauma life. He had a hard life. And I think it just shows you what being human is. Again, I've said it before, but it just really shows you, like, the human side of Elvis. And, I mean, the movie, it isn't touching too much. Like, I think as the years have gone on and we watched more documentaries and other movies and, we just see him in different lights. But that was the start of really highlighting who Elvis is as a human, not just as this hot performer who girls love.
Yeah, he's a lot more than that. Even though, I get it.
Still is a very attractive man. Very mesmerizing to this day.
He is, and I think for me, I've struggled a lot with what I believe in, and we've went to church our whole life, and Man, just one thing after the other, let me tell you, in our life. Loss, dealing with, addiction, not just from one person, but so many different people are, going through a lot of hard things we should have never went through. And it's still happening today, We may look like we have our lives together, which I'm very proud of us because, for the most part, we do. It's just people around us, It's been hard. It's been a hard few years, and we lost our grandma, and she was our best friend. She helped raise us, and I wish she could see us now, but I'm glad we have this little community of Elvis, and we're doing this to keep us, not just Elvis's memory alive, but our grandma's, and we're making everyone proud, hopefully. But back to what I was saying about, going to church and stuff like that, I've had a really confusing time on what I believe in. And I do believe, in God, but I will say it's been easier for me to go and talk to Elvis the last couple of years. And I know that sounds like the strangest thing, and I'm sure it is for a lot of people, but I find myself, talking to him a lot, or thinking, what would he do? Or what would he tell me to do? Because he loved everyone. He loved his fans, he loved his family, he loved random strangers. He had so much love for everyone that I think that's why he felt so empty all the time, because he wasn't giving himself much love, because he was giving it to everyone else. But I just know if I could sit down or tell him all what we were going through, he would have things to say for us. And it's been so healing. And, right now, in this journey we're on and doing the Jumpsuit Gems, I believe in Elvis so much, and he's just been there for us to talk to. So, yes, we are 100% Elvis fans, crazy fans, love to go to concerts, love ETA Fest, love the performers, anything Elvis you can think of.
The art of Elvis, we love. But
there's also a side to us who we just love Elvis Presley, the human being, the man himself, 100%. So, and he's helped us get through things that no one else has been able to.
And it also, not just him, but, his memory is kind of why we're doing this podcast. And this podcast is another thing for us to, better our lives with. It's something, it's kind of, I don't know, I guess you can call it a hobby, but, it gives us something to look forward to. Our death of our grandma, who was a parent to us, is so fresh, and it's so hard to get through day to day, but to look forward to something, and this is something we look forward to, and we look forward to traveling and getting new Elvis memories, and it's just a tool, I feel like, and it's something that we can, continue to look forward to, because I think it's, always evolving and growing, but I think the journey itself is just such a great thing, and who would have thought the journey of Elvis and becoming Elvis fans would ever look like this for us. But
I had no idea that when I first moved and we just happened to go to a movie because we're well, grandma can't go, so we're all three gonna go. I had no idea in that moment that we're gonna be sitting here right now doing this. You never know where life is going to take you, and it could take you good, it could take you bad, it can, change directions at any time, and it's crazy to think that we've ended up here and we're happy, even though despite the hardships that are going in our life, it's I'm oh, well, I get to film a video today, wow, I'm so excited, it does, it just gives you something to talk about, and it's also one of our favorite topics to talk about, because we love to yap about Elvis.
Well, the podcast is pretty new. When the movie first came out, we were not cocky and be oh my God, we're going to have a fan page and we're going to have this. But we talked about and the previous, I think our first podcast, we talked about how the first big step was going to Chicago and watching Dean Z, which is the ETA artist. He really popped off for us, and we realized what this could look like. But it wasn't until we went to Elvis Week and we saw all these Elvis fan clubs, especially the night of his vigil, and we just saw people of all generations and of all different, walks of life their love for Elvis, it wasn't until we saw that fully, they were like, oh my God, like that is us. And we should share that because, I mean, we had to go all the way from Montana down to Tennessee to see that. And it's just like, I get comments every day about how, you know, our podcast kind of makes people happy or they just smile or, I mean, at work, I have Elvis cups or sometimes I wear Elvis scrubs and like the older generation, when they see it, they just perk up. And I think it's just crazy that like you can easily spread happiness through that. And I mean, as of right now, Elvis is still something that people, you know, get a little spark in their eye when you talk about him. So I think, again, it's just something that we can bring happiness to our lives every day that we do it and be a place where, you know, we can have those tough talks with people, but also have those fun talks with people and just continue to not only like keep his memory alive, but also his kind of life legacy of who he was. Like, he wasn't just a performer. He genuinely cared about the world. And that was eye-opening the first time we ever went to Graceland. All the charity work. Like, I had no idea Elvis was that giving of a man. Like, even in the movie, it didn't even make it feel that way. But, like, the first time going and we had that really good tour guide, she really explained and, like, showed us, like, no, he was one of the most giving people there has ever been. And it truly was. I mean, he made a lot, so it made it easier. But
I mean, even to this
seeing,
day,
like, the receipts and seeing just, like, the pictures and it was just so crazy to be like, oh my God, if he can do that, how could we do that on our scale? Because I mean, we can't
donate as much as him.
that, and we also can't afford half of that. But doesn't mean we can't, like, he can't be a role model and I don't know, give us kind of inspiration to do things certain ways, or I don't know.
Yeah, we would love to do that one day. And how crazy is this going to be? Like, I wonder where we're going to be in 40 years. Because there's going to be Elvis fans forever for the rest of time. But something in Elvis Week that was really, I think, touched me. I don't know about you guys. You know, time goes on. Everyone ages, you know, and sadly, you know, people pass on. And when you're in rooms with these people who knew Elvis or these fans that were original fans from when he was alive or just, you know, starting out to become big, you know, they're all going to be gone one day. And so you think it's really up to us younger generations to keep it going. Because if you don't, I can't even imagine what would happen to Graceland if people stopped going or, you know, if people didn't stop sharing the love of Elvis, which that will never happen. Because even though I think the Elvis community, when you're in it, it's a close little family, but it is huge. I mean, in every country. I mean, he is so big that there will never be a time where people will stop talking about Elvis. But it really...
Which is so crazy to think. Like, it's so crazy that he's like a tradition. Like, it makes you think of just like, I don't know, he's not just a person. Because if you say Elvis, you know exactly who we're talking about. I mean, for most people, I think there's that, 1% that probably wouldn't. But, like,
Right.
just saying Elvis, like, it's just the one name everyone knows. You can go to multiple different countries and...
I mean, I think that was, like, the one thing that, I mean, just was crazy to me is to find and be around people that are from all, you know, different countries or different races or ethnicities. And some of them don't even speak English, but they're all there because they love Elvis and they made that trip out. I mean, that right there that's bringing the world together.
Yeah, that's dedication. Because, like, I mean, we complain about Montana to Tennessee, but, like, these people come over and, God, I don't even know how far it is, but, like,
I mean,
they talk about, like, it's long flights to come over, and they just do it because, like, yeah, they love Elvis, which is crazy because, like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know, dedication. I don't know. It's just insane to me.
I mean,
my head can't wrap around it. Like,
it's unconditional love right there. I mean, because I know there's people from Italy and Belgium and the UK, I think Australia. So, I mean, those people, I mean, they're traveling long distances. And, you know, like we said, we think Montana's far.
I know.
But, I mean, to
and it's
us.
also, like, and I'm not trying to disrespect him, but, like, for a singer. Like, that's what blows my mind, and he's so much more than that. But when you, like, bottom line is most people know Elvis as a singer, and or they know him of the impersonators down in, Las Vegas, of the kind of joke, like kind of disrespectful part of Elvis, and but like it just blows my mind that he had such that big of an impact. Sorry guys, someone just coughed outside our window. Anyway,
that's a little blooper that you get in our video for us. For you guys.
Yeah, honestly, it touches my heart to sing like grown women to these old ladies at these events or at Graceland just in tears, or these old guys down in the lobby who are just like, you see him walking around and maybe you're like, oh, he's a grumpy looking guy. And then you see them later at night down in the lobby
when
sitting
the music's going,
and they're just dancing to that music. And we're over there crying, not to be creepers, but we're just watching, and it makes me so sad because, I don't know, I just feel so connected to Elvis, and I wish he could just see what it is now and what he still is now. And
because one thing that movie did touch in, and like I feel like every documentary you see, Elvis was so afraid of being forgotten. And I don't know if he was truly afraid or he was just like so not confident in himself, being like, I've made no impact in this world, everyone will forget about me. And it just seeing it, just being like, look how wrong he was. And thank God for the people who, after Elvis died, they fought so hard to keep him alive, like his legacy alive. And his family has done a wonderful job doing that. And,
No, it's true. But it's also like, I think in the first video that Alex did say is, his purpose was bigger, sadly, after he was gone, because when he was alive, he drew in a lot of crowds of people, and there was fan clubs and all this stuff together. But I mean,
there's something behind energy though. Like, and I mean, Elvis has kind of made it cooler and more accepting, I feel like, and like the little group there's something behind spirituality, and he was on to something, like, honestly. And I love his what's his hairdresser's name?
Larry Geller.
Yeah, I loved him. He talked at Elvis Week, and they're onto something because he had such, I think, in whatever life you have, or if there's multiple lives, and just, I don't want to get too much into it, but there is a purpose. And I think his purpose is so bigger than anyone's idea that it's hard to grasp. But like, I mean, look at how he's affecting us, and this is how many years after he died?
Yeah, he was so much bigger than just his time on Earth, obviously.
Yeah.
And, I mean, going back to, like, our dad, it's made me, like, really want to tell our dad's story, and how he did not have it easy growing up, and I think all of us just, I'm not speaking for everyone, but, you want to be seen a little bit, or when you're going through these things, you want people to understand why you're doing the things you're doing, or what you're feeling, or what you're thinking. And for our dad, it's an interesting story, and it's really traumatic, and it's a sad story. And I'm just so glad we've been able to heal enough to where hopefully one day we could tell his story, because I feel like he never got a break, and then he started using, and he started, just destroying everything into his path, which
self-destructive.
Absolutely. That he was alone. He did not have his family with him, but, he was helping others. We, it's really sad, but we went through his AA books, and we met some of his friends, and, he
had a little impact.
He did have an impact.
It's crazy to think that, like, everyone is capable of having an impact on someone else's life, and it's their choices that can determine if it's good or bad. But even if you do bad, you still have the opportunity to make a good change. And just seeing that on a small scale, and having, again, Elvis kind of open your eyes to it. It's like, wait, like, this isn't just specific to Elvis, and it just makes you open your eyes to the whole world, I feel like.
Right. And, in my journey of healing and stuff, I've changed a lot. I used to be a really bitter person. about everything. I would find every excuse I could to be mad at someone or hold that grudge. And now before I do that, I stop and I think of what would Elvis do? What would Elvis tell me? Or you know what? I've come a long way.
Yet, I identify with Elvis's anger.
Yes, Alex does.
Like, I know I'm on a healing path, but I still, and I would love to get in a fight with Elvis because he had such strong opinions.
I said last night those two, because, like, we find ourselves in Elvis, or what kind of friends would we be, or to Elvis, or family members, and I said, man, you and Elvis, the fight you guys would get into over stuff would be insane.
But I respect being, like, strongly opinionated. I don't think everyone's right or everyone's wrong. But I do feel like it's so crazy to see who he was back then and just trying to imagine who he would be today. But, like, I don't know. Like, I still, like, I don't have his anger issues. But, like, if he wanted something, he was going to get it. And so, I mean, I'm not that I'm the same, but I'm not quite to your point of, like, not holding grudges and not being so hateful. But...
And that's fine. Everyone's on their own journey. But I'm just saying, for me, he's completely changed the way I see people, and even, like, past people who I'll never forgive. I have changed, and maybe I haven't forgave them yet fully, but I can just see that it's so much easier to have a little bit of love or more understanding for people than just to go straight to hatred or being a mean person. I don't want to be a mean person. I want to be a good person, and I want to be remembered for the person that I am and the kindness. And even though, like, I still fight a lot with people, or we get in fights, I feel like that's different because we're family. But I just want to, from now on, I just want to spread, like, love. Most definitely Elvis's love, but in regular, just day to day, I'm trying to be a better person. But that's because Elvis showed me that I can be. So,
and I think, like, for me, I think after watching the movie, going to Grayson and all, and just kind of being around Elvis, I think I've developed, I always thought people were beautiful before, don't get me wrong. But, I think I was a child, I was kind of judgmental a little bit, but I think now, I mean, I can see a random stranger and I think, wow, they're so beautiful. Maybe not everybody else thinks that, but I think I can see that they are beautiful, and whether they have problems or if, like, you're homeless or you're less fortunate, we're not going to judge because might have been there, or we know people who've been there. And it kind of is like, I'm not Elvis. I cannot say I'm Elvis, but it's like in a way where Elvis, didn't judge a lot of people, or if he did, it wasn't crazy.
Oh, there's some stories, and again, what was his hairdresser's name? His story about judging a group of people.
Okay, but it was an innocent thing.
Elvis is an eye-opener. You can still judge and be a good person.
Honestly, we would have said the same thing.
Learn.
Yeah, we would have. We would have been very nice, but we probably would have said the same thing because we're humans.
If you're wondering what we're talking about...
Elvis was a funny guy.
When Elvis met the Beatles, when they left after they were hanging out for a little bit, he just was like, wow, did you see their teeth? And it's not like he was being rude, but I'm like, that is something we would have said. You know what I mean? Like, he's funny, and he had the same reactions that we all do. And he was, why does he have to be this perfect person who is nice all the time? But
that's the human side of him. Like, the jokes that, like, get the stories of him and how he would joke, or, how he was kind of, raunchy in some things. And I don't know. I just, like, I relate to that. Like, that's the type of, I don't know, humor we have. Like, life is rough. You go through hard times, but making jokes while you're doing it or trying to get people to laugh
And also, he gets a lot of hate for his baby talk. Do you know that me and this one right here, Caitlin, that's sitting right next to me, we have our own language. I'm 24 years old, gonna be 25, and I baby talk her.
And I'm 20, turning almost 21 in a couple months.
Like, sure, you're not my new romantic little thing I'm trying to hit on and talk baby talk to, but, I mean...
But also,
it's so normal.
His baby, like, I cannot get over the fact mental health was not taken serious back then.
No.
And because he wanted to baby talk with him and his mom or his girlfriends, or I don't know. I just hate how people judge that so much. Because I'm like, he went through a lot, and he was allowed to be that way. And some people bully him and make fun of him, but I'm like, look at your life. Like,
also,
have you never done anything a little odd? Being odd is fine.
Well, if you think about it, like, there's always those, TikToks around social media of, like, catching my boyfriend, baby talking me, and then the camera turns and he's like, I wasn't saying that, or, something, because there shouldn't be ashamed to treat your girl, or maybe it was odd, some of the stuff that Elvis was into, definitely, but also, who cares, because you're living your life, and if you like it, and you're enjoying it, and you're happy, that's all that matters.
Just own who you are, and I feel like
be authentic.
Elvis had bad sides, and I just wish he could have fully been him, because I know he definitely probably felt ashamed. I mean, just hearing the stories from documentaries, he really didn't open up to people. There's very few people he actually opened up to. But I think that, again, that's just another sign of learning from people's mistakes and always just being true to who you are, whether it's liked or not. And I feel bad for him because I feel like he was held back a lot because, him or the colonel or his friends or family, they're probably worried about how famous and how popular he could be if he wouldn't have, done certain things, or maybe they held him back from doing things that he wanted to really dive into.
Well, and also, everyone talks about how he was just girl crazy. Girls everywhere. But it's like he was so forced to be around women all the time. You know what I mean? And then it's like, nothing he did was, good enough, and I just feel like he was, especially in that time, he was just so pressured and doing just so much so fast.
He was also just worked like a dog.
Yeah.
Come on. Having an escape, and I'm not making excuses for what he did, because there's some dark stuff out there, but, I mean, he was worked like a dog to support him and his friends and his family, and he was a very giving man, and so he was, he would give a lot, but then he would just do shows to make up for it, and it's just again, mental health is huge, and I feel like it just shows how balanced your life, or this is what can kind of happen. But I don't know. I feel like with all the bad stories, there's going to be 10 plus good stories. So many people, I've heard the saying, you remember the good times. I mean, the bad times, you can remember too, but the good times, as long as they're outweighing the bad, I mean.
Well, 100%. And us being fans, all I have to see, when we were watching that documentary last night, the beginning has this video of just him laughing or smiling, and I just start crying. You don't think about the bad things. I mean, I love Elvis so much that it hurts, and I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but
it's not.
Man, I could cry. When I hear him laughing,
it's
tears. Over. Hear a sad song and him smiling, tears. And I don't know if maybe we knew him in our past life, if we were a fan, we were close to him. I don't know what it was, but I feel for him, and I have this love for him that it's really hard to explain to people who don't understand. But, I mean, if you're here right now, you're either curious or you feel the same way, or that you support us feeling that way. So we thank you for that.
Thank you for the support, if it's just for the support.
But I also think, I'm so glad we can talk, maybe just because of our experience, with our dad and stuff. But, we do bring up the bad memories of Elvis, or, some of his issues, because there's no person in this world that is perfect, and
we're not gonna
makes
hide.
No mistakes. No, and it sucks. He did bad things, but he also was a great man. So
I mean, again, kind of to touch on that, so many people who, I don't know, who don't see what we see, and they always bring up all this bad stuff, and I'm like, okay, I value what you're saying, and I'm not discrediting how you feel, but at the same time, we're all human. And and let's be honest, he's dead. He can't talk to any of these things that people are now coming, he died in the 70s. That was such a different time. I mean, he was born so long ago, it's not the same United States, and it's not the same world that we live in now. So we can't really hold him to these standards. Holding him to standards of that day, I think he was a very well guy. I mean, again, there was some darker things that a lot of people felt uncomfortable with, and I mean, I feel uncomfortable with, but at the same time, he's a human. I don't know, you can't hold him to these high expectations when I feel like a lot of people made those same mistakes, or
No, but also, like, bringing it back to our personal story, especially with our dad. When I used to be really hateful, I would have my grandma or past, just family members say, whatever he did, I know it was bad. And I know he hurt you girls, but he was a good person. Or we had family members say, I can't think of him that way because I knew the good person he was. And I knew the sober him and what he did, to make people laugh. Or, I'm ready for that side and I see it now. Because if it was flipped, I hope, and, if I was ever in that position where I was struggling with an addiction of some sort, or I was making poor choices, I would hope people would still say that about me, or want to be there for me till the end, and not just give up on me. So I see it, and I think that's just, Elvis as a whole has helped us see things way differently.
Yeah. And
Period.
it's okay if it's not how other people do. Like, honestly, but at the end of the day, there's going to be people who don't support Elvis. There's going to be people who think we're crazy for doing this. There's going to be people who question, like, why the hell would they even think about doing a podcast about Elvis? And there's going to be people who don't support us. But, I mean, at the end of the day, we all make life decisions, and I don't think we're hurting anyone. I think
it's
we
been
have
really
the
fun for us.
opportunity to do good, and
I do want to say one thing, which I think is really funny is, and not funny, but I think wholesome is, we started loving Elvis and all this stuff, and we didn't even know much about our dad, and we found out that our dad actually did like Elvis, and so we're like, wow, and I guess he used to get haircuts like Elvis, because he, like, really loved Elvis, and so, like, that was, like, a moment where it's like, how is it crazy that, he died, and we just bonded over this, and Elvis found us, and, we found Elvis. But also, it's something we not intentionally, like, bonded with our dad, but in a way we did.
yeah, like, it's something that we can look back.
Well, and even, I mean, I don't even remember this, but we used to get him chocolates, like, on Valentine's Day that have Elvis on it. And he would save those from us because he loved Elvis. And I don't remember that, And maybe if I do a little bit, we weren't fans really back then. It was just, apparently we knew he liked him, or Mom knew that he liked him. And I just think it's so crazy that it's all come so full circle.
Well, and, like, also, like, to kind of add to it, our dad is a little older, but when he was, like, a young teen, probably, like, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, Elvis was in his prime, like, rock and roll in the 70s in Vegas, living that rock star life, where I feel like a lot of boys were like, that's so cool, know? And so I think that's cool that, like, that's also the Elvis he knew so very well, because that's the Elvis that is our favorite. That's the one we bond with the most. Like, the 50s are okay, and, 60s are okay, but, like, we really bond with the 70s Elvis, so I think that's so cool too.
I mean, yeah, and it is crazy if you think
Just
about
a big
it.
coincidence.
He was alive. I mean, he was born in 1962, so where our mom was born in 1971, so she was just a little girl, when he died, and so.
Okay.
What?
Nothing.
What's weird about that?
Nothing. Keep going.
But anyways, so yeah, so it's always wholesome. But that's kind of sums up our story. We do it for our dad, and we do it for our grandma, and we do it for ourselves, and we do it for you guys and Elvis.
Which, I mean, we're so young. I feel like it's sad that we have to say that. Not like it's a disclaimer, but it's like, it does suck that, we can't talk to them about what we're doing now, or we can't get that information like we would when we asked our grandma or our uncle. And some things don't really make sense. I don't know why things happen to us that have happened, but if all that stuff did not happen, I don't think we'd be on this couch right now. We wouldn't be doing this. And
for sure, I think everything that happens in our life has shaped us into who we are, and everything happens for a reason.
So we're going to keep doing this.
Yeah. Whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not.
And if you don't, that's kind of going to make me happier about doing it more.
She's a feisty one.
She is.
I'm just, honestly, when we started this too, I was like, oh, embarrassing. I hope we get more than like 10 followers. Or I was so nervous to put our podcast out. Like, what if only one person listens? Hey, that's one person. But honestly, I've been so shocked. I mean, it's hundreds of people who are supporting us and saying kind things, or they can't wait to be a part of it, or they can't wait to see the next one. And it makes me so happy because I've always wanted to do something so creative like this. And we never know, like, what it's going to turn into. I have a list in our book of dream guests we could have on here, dream places we want to go, that Elvis has been to. And I'm glad we can document this, because then in a year or years down the road, we can look back and say, wow, look at all the stuff we've done since these first podcasts. So
it'll be cute to see how we evolve. You know?
I know, and we're trying to we want to go to the ETA weekend at Graceland.
March 2025.
Oh, and we're trying to get, like, the coolest jumpsuit outfits. We're trying to customize stuff,
which I'm looking forward to, because I'm a crafty one. And I have so many ideas. Because, like, the jumpsuits, how are those not cool?
I know.
Like, looking at them and being like, how can we create this in 2025 version? But, like,
No,
I'm so excited.
I don't know if Elvis's jumpsuits would look good on us.
We ain't talking about how we're going to be recreating Elvis's jumpsuits
we
and
ain't
wear
gonna
them.
walk
Yeah,
out
so
in
don't
it.
think that, because you guys might be, but
You might be waiting for that, but we ain't built for Elvis's.
No, we're not.
Not at all.
If they thought his last one is when he died,
Yeah.
tiny.
If you thought Elvis was bad looking in his final days,
Wait till
Watch out.
we wouldn't be able to fit in that thing.
no.
You have to cut it up.
Good Lord.
So, but we have so much fun with it. And, we used to be really self-conscious and shy, and we didn't like to be on camera. Like, we always wanted to do these things. And now I'm so happy where we're at. And
I still don't have confidence, though. Like, I
don't either.
None of us
Liz
do
and Caitlin are talking about all these fun things and meeting these people and, like, famous people and getting, like, ETAs. And I'm like,
I want to
you
become...
might just have episodes of those two with these people, because I don't know if I can do it. I am not
Well, it is
confident
be in the
whatsoever.
room.
It's nerve-wracking, but I'm like, I really want to start making more friends. I think I really want to make friends with some of the ETAs and become friends. I don't want to force it because that's awkward, but it is. I mean, it's kind of intimidating. Like, when you go to Graceland, usually, like, our first trip there, we didn't know anyone, right? Because there wasn't a big event. It was just during Christmas on this week.
It was so dead.
So dead. And as we're getting to know more people and follow more people, and now that people, big names and big Elvis people in the Elvis world are following us, and even going to Elvis week, seeing these people, I'm like, whoa, this is scary, because it's just intimidating. Even though we're all one big family, it is still, like, nerve-wracking to go up and talk to these people. And you also want to be cool and collected. But you don't want to be like,
we're not
can I get
cool.
a picture?
We're not cool or collected, though. If you ever see us out in the wild, we look like bitches. I'm sorry. We have resting bitch
We
face.
do.
Please know we don't hate you. We don't hate our lives. We don't hate the situation.
Oh, not even out in public.
we just
even
try
out here.
to we just try to hide it, and the only way we know how to hide it is by resting bitch face. We're actually so excited, and like, I don't know, like
yeah, and I'm just wondering, I'm like, ooh, like, maybe in March when we go back, like, I wonder if anyone's going to notice us or know, like, oh my God, look, that's the Jumpsuit Gems, or they have a podcast, or I'm pretty sure that's them. Like, if you ever see us, I guess, at an event, come up and say hi.
We'll be so
you
happy.
probably look like,
Don't approach us,
but
it's not
Dude,
true.
we are
It's
so
not true.
approachable. Once you say hey, we just start.
we're probably nervous, or, like the time we met Dean Z, my heart was almost ripped out of my chest because I was so nervous. I start sweating, my hands start sweating.
Side note, I will run away, but that's okay.
Yeah, you may or may not meet Alex because she'll see someone walking up and just bolt. But no, honestly, this is also a challenge of starting to go up. I met Sky from the Pink Cadillacs before we went to...
watched.
You did watch. Thank you. You should... I don't know how that
From
was,
afar?
if it was awkward, but...
It wasn't as good.
I had been, going on her lives, and I've been following them for a while, and I really liked her, and I was like, you know what? She's going to Elvis week. I am, like, maybe we can meet. And I just didn't find the right time. Like, she'd be walking around and she'd be talking to other people. And I'm like, it's so awkward. I don't want to go up and stand there and, like, wait in line. And be like, can I have a picture? Or can I say hi? So finally on the last night possible, literally, I was like, I kept seeing her and I was like, oh, this is so awkward. Why am I making it so awkward? And then finally she was just standing by herself and I went up to her. I didn't even ask for a picture or anything because I just wanted to say hi, like as a friend or as a follower. I just wanted to say hi and we had a really good conversation. And then it's like, you know, same with like talking to Jasmine or just meeting people and talking to people there. It's like, oh, that really isn't that bad. But sometimes we have really bad anxiety and it eats us alive. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, that's our goal, is to start making more friends in the Elvis world. And just give ourselves a challenge. But I promise we may look mean, but we're really not.
We're not as mean as we look. Mm-mm. Maybe I'm a little meaner. I just bring them down. I am so sorry.
And if you did see us at Elvis Week, it was a long 10 days of sharing a room. Wow, we were with our mom. We were fighting like crazy.
The usual.
I think we had like 4 fights a day, and they weren't big. Like we still all talk to each other, but them rooms are tiny. So if you can figure out how to get us a suite the next time we go,
come on,
let us know, because 4 people in a tiny room.
The chairs were packed with 10 days outfit. We had like 2 outfits.
We had 2 outfits a day plus like leisure wear too.
So
we had a huge suitcase and stuff to the brim, carry-ons, and a personal item.
Yeah, which was like rough. A backpack, so it's a lot of stuff in there.
So we were just ready to fight. So it was our emotion, our face.
One bathroom, one shower, one toilet. Oh my gosh.
And then imagine getting ready every day. Everybody had to do their hair, everybody had to do their makeup, and get dressed.
Our mother was always behind.
It was my mom.
And I know she's going to be listening to this, so Mom.
With love.
Yes.
You got to get ready faster.
Yeah.
It's okay, Mom. I'm the same way. I take forever too, but just not as long as you.
But anyway, kind of just wrapping up.
Yeah.
Our life is just crazy, sometimes really fun, but we also struggle just like everyone else.
Yeah.
And we've been through some really hard things.
So if you ever feel like you need to talk to someone, we're always open. Shoot anything our way. I mean, you can send hate comments if you want.
You can.
We will laugh at them, and I will read them and call you out on camera.
She'll make a whole video by herself.
No, just like talk to us more. Let us know how you guys are doing. Yeah. We just did last week was our podcast, and we addressed some of the stories and favorite Elvis memories for you guys. But I mean, we will always respond back, and if you want to share your story with us, share your story. If not, don't feel pressured. But I think we're really open to meeting
literally anything.
I think we always want to be the most authentic. So this is us. Whether we're in person, whether we're here, whether in our daily lives, we're just us.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're just a little bit more wild together.
Just trying to get through life.
This little life of ours.
It's different every day.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that's all I really have to say.
Yeah, thanks for your support. We'll hopefully see you in the weeks to come.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.